12 noon MST. I do see Maureen Wixon is online. She is saying, hey, Daisy.
Hey, Maureen, how are you?
Maureen. And she even said, hello, dear Kenyatta. We can't see her now, but she is such a gem. So please, the viewers, if you could please share with us where you are joining us from. Kenyatta, will you please share with us where you are coming in live from?
Absolutely. I am coming in live from Phoenix, Arizona, where it's only about 313 degrees here, so it's a nice day.
I love the heat. I'm originally from Kenya, East Africa, right by the equator. See, I'm going to be flying down there, when winter hits. Hopefully COVID is done. Do I have a place? I just need a small little, very, very tiny, right now I'm in a 3 feet by 4 feet space, so I won't occupy much room, promise. How about you, Daisy? Where are you coming in from?
I am coming in from Brampton, Ontario, Canada. And I know it's easy if I say to some people, I'm coming in from Toronto, because everybody knows Toronto. But I am from Brampton, which is part of the Greater Toronto area. And I'm closer to the airport than Toronto is. So that's great. And I'm thrilled to be here, to be joining you and Kenyatta, and then to see Maureen is in the house.
Excellent. Thank you. Thank you. So the reason why I've invited you is that the thing about this is, we talk a lot about careers, we talk about life, and with you, Kenyatta, I knew you were a career advisor at a university, at a college, and you've been talking a lot about behavioral superpowers and how can we stand out and show up, because that is the thing right now, is that if we're not going to show up, we're going to get blown over. And you have been showing up, my dear Daisy. You had created a post, and that went viral. It was found by somebody in the UK, and when the, I don't know if he's still called the Prince or the artist formerly, the royalty formerly known as Prince Harry. I like fun, over here. And the Duchess of Princess, I'm sorry, I don't know how to exactly say that.
Duchess of Sussex.
Okay, thank you. Now, that caught the attention, and please do share with our viewers what that was about. How did that go about, and can you share with us a tiny bit so we can get a sense of what was going on?
Well, a number of things were going on, and it was the same time when the Prince and the Duchess, they were thinking of leaving the UK. And one of the great things about social media is that you never know who will reach out to you. And I was just looking through my Twitter account, and I saw a message from BBC Radio, and I said, oh, this must be a joke. So I responded, and the person was asking of what career advice would I give to the Prince and the Duchess, because they're thinking of leaving. So my first thought was, oh, they wouldn't even need any career advice, because they're already well known. But I decided to just throw it out there on both Twitter and LinkedIn to get some ideas of what kind of an advice would we give to them if they were going to search for for job opportunities out there. And I got a myriad of advice in terms of from they're well branded, how they can capitalize on their brand. And you realize that it wouldn't be any different. Yes, they are well known, but the ordinary people like us, we could still use some of the same tactics that they use.
Wow, that is brilliant. Thank you ever so much for sharing. That must have felt really amazing. Now, Kenyatta, oh my gosh, I also wanted to thank you so much for the most recent post you had on LinkedIn about and all of that. So now, you have been evolving from a career advisor, LegalShield. You are a lady of many talents. So in your bio, you talk about you are a behavioral superpowers coach, a public speaker, a motivational educator, and an accredited DNA, business consultant through DNA behavior. Tell us a little bit about how you have been pivoting through all of the changes that not only throughout your career history, because, if we stay put in one area, we're going to get thrown right under the bus, that bus that we are driving ourselves. So what is it that has helped you to come out in front and really shine?
Well, thank you for asking. Thanks for having me here, Alnor. This is a lot of fun. And Daisy, so glad to meet you. And I got to read this post that you did as well. I'm like, I want to know about that. But what really, quite honestly happened is I was already in my mindset of, the reason I left my educational career in the first place is to build my empire. That's what I was always saying. I had no idea what that meant, but I knew I was built for more. I'd worked in colleges for 20 years. I'd ran career services. I'd helped students pick a college, find a career, get hired. I grew up in that educational space and I learned so much. I was a coach even then doing what I did. But when I branched out on my own, looking for whatever that next thing was going to be for me, I ran into LegalShield 6 weeks afterwards. And it's been 6 years and I'm diehard LegalShield for life. I love the revolution of what we do. But even through that process, I kept growing and expanding, and I started teaching and coaching, personal development, and all these things were happening when it occurred to me almost 2 years ago, oh, this is what you're supposed to be doing. But through that process of learning what my behavioral superpower was, which I did in about January of 2019, it just unleashed everything. I saw so clearly on a tangible situation. It was quantifiable. It was I could see it on paper. This is what you've always done. This is who you were built to be. And if you just learn to hone in on those things, you can avoid the square peg round hole scenario, which is I call when people are in jobs or in careers or even relationships that they shouldn't be in. I can avoid all that now because I'm so clear on my behavior and who I am and what makes me tick. Then to me to accept anything less than that would just be foolish really at this point. So, because I don't have to anymore. So that's kind of the unveiling you've seen, and what's been transpiring is my realization of that and doing what I call walking in my greatness, which is doing what I'm built to do. So I teach others to do the same thing.
Applause, applause, applause. Yay.
Oh, you just typed a voice. That's so quick. I'm looking at I'm like, wait, I just said that.
Listening and sharing right there,
You're quick.
I know. That is so true. That is what, we can all align ourselves with. I teach personality dimensions, and what that is, it shows us that it gets us to understand who we are. Now, Jane Harnadak, she was a co-host, during the month of May, mental health, and she was here with Shelley Eslinger. Oh my gosh, my heart. And no, she was Shelley Eslinger was the month after, but Jane was here talking about kindness, and she too does personality dimensions. And so, how can we take what we know, understand who the others are, and get a peg and round hole, because that is fantastic. So with all of that, Daisy, how can people then create meaningful careers post what's happening right now? Because it seems like we don't know what we don't know. We think we know what's going to happen, but right away things keep on changing. So what can you share about that, Daisy?
You know what? It's yes, things are messy right now, and it's actually a good time for people to sit back and really reflect. What is it? Who am I? Ask the questions. Who am I? What is it that I'm good at? what is it? What skills and talents do I have that I can either use in my own business, because that's an option, as Kenyatta was saying, or what talents do I have that I can bring to the table? So it's a great time to really pivot, to really settle down and say, okay, it's kind of quiet now. I know it's messy. We don't know what's going to happen. We don't know when, if and when there's going to be a solution to what's happening. But how can we capitalize? How can I, as an individual, capitalize on what's happening? And so you start with this self-assessment, but then you also start to look out and to see if there are gaps. What gaps could I fill? So that's where you actually start. And many people have become accustomed to working in an office, well, going to an office. Well, remote work, that temporary home office is becoming permanent. So you have to try to see, how will I fit? What opportunities are there that I could take advantage of? The other thing is reaching out to people. It is so necessary. What I found in my business, funny enough, is that first time a client or a potential client would probably call me and I would just jump on the phone. Now it's so easy for me to set up a Zoom call and I'm seeing that person face to face. It makes such a difference. So what I'm saying, reach out to people. And because of what's happening, people have become more empathetic. And so they're more inclined to want to have a conversation. And when you do reach out, don't go begging anybody anything, however desperate you are. Talk about, how can I help them? How can I help you? What can I do for you? What is the one thing I could do for you at this moment that would make you feel better? Can you, if it's a recruiter, for example, is there somebody what positions are you trying to fill, to see if I have anyone in my network who can do that? So it's a social reciprocate. Oh, absolutely. That's what it is. Yes. And whatever we give, we get back. And we don't give because we're expecting to get back. But that's how the world works. You give out there, it comes right back to you. So just get back to your question. Now is a great time to, and the word pivot or career pivot, the phrase is a buzzword. It's yes, what's happening now? Where do I go? I think, for example, of a young man here in Toronto that I heard about. 16 years old. And he started creating, before COVID became such a big issue, he started creating masks. And do you know that young man has gone into six figures with his mask business? So you think about that. It's a 16-year-old who has seen an opportunity, and so many other people there are so many people out there now making masks that it's amazing. So that's all we have to do. Think back, be creative, and see what is it that I'm good at, and how can I market that to somebody else? Or if it's how could I create a business out of what I'm good at? So I'll just stop for now.
Yeah, that is amazing, because as you said that, my hairs on my legs started to stand, because these are the good news stories that we need to keep hearing, not some of the things, because sometimes what you focus on grows. Also, I was in the car with my younger son when I was dropping him to school. He was in grade 3 before we were in the lockdown and all of that, and I dropped my older son to the bus stop and my younger son I'd drive to school. I would be there early, and I was drinking my chai as usual, and there was a message that I wanted to share, and I took it to him, and I put a little drop, and he goes, "Papa, that's your chai," and we speak Kutchi. which is an Indian dialect, and we're from Kenya, so it's mixed with lots of Kiswahili. Actually, I'm born in Kenya, born and raised, third generation. My son is born here. He's like, that's your chai, and you love chai so much. And what I did was, he saw the brown spot on the white tissue, and that started to expand. And I said, what's happening? He said, it's growing big. So what's it telling you is that what you focus on can grow bigger. So with your story of sharing about that 16-year-old, the more we share those stories on social media, and that is the essence of this Chai with All conversations. It is the essence of what are others doing. And I'll get back to you, Daisy, for a moment. But Kenyatta, also, I started out with that dad conversations, because a lot of people are hurting. And I don't know if you know about the statistics of what's going on right now because of mental illness tsunamis, what I've been talking about. And I'm focusing a lot on mental career journeys with help with mental health. Behavior therapy workshop facilitator. And what we are seeing right now is that we have not even hit the tsunami of what's going to happen with mental illness. So can you please tell us a little bit about that post and about dads? And there's why I'm going there, because I'm being very inclusive. I'm not saying that, I'm bring a voice over here where it's not being heard, is that dads are going through quite a lot of times and all of that, with marriage breakdowns, with the loss of job, loss of identity, because with jobs, that is our identity. We go out, what do you do?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And for me, I was a stay-home dad with my business because I could take my kids to their activities, which was every evening of the week, being exhausted, but that was not being seen as good enough, right? So can you please, do you mind sharing a little bit you did there, yes, for that post? Thank you.
Absolutely. Yes. And I hope I'm here, because it looks like the connection might be a little spotty, but
yes.
So with I'm going to answer the question in two ways. One, Napoleon Hill talks about that there's 6 ghosts of fear, like 6 basic fears that people have. And one of them, and the first one, and the most powerful, is the fear of poverty. And there's so many things that fall underneath that, right? Almost kind of what you mentioned about identity being related to a job, being related to bringing income into the household, being able to support a family. There's a fear that will cause us to do all kinds of things when it comes to that. The next one's a fear of criticism. The next one's a fear of old age, the fear of losing someone you love, and the fear of illness, and the fear of death. Okay, those are the 6 basic fears that Napoleon Hill says that we're all subjective to these things. And when you think about poverty, you think about criticism and identity, a lot of it comes from who a person believes themselves to be. Who are they, and are they comfortable with that? Like, are they someone who stands up and owns that identity and that behavior, or are they someone who has been oppressed by who they are, or by other people, or oppressed themselves, right? So what we teach in our behavioral superpower universe, right, is we want everyone to know what their behavioral superpowers are. And what they truly are simply your behaviors that's been hardwired in your amygdala since the age of 3. Like, I've always been an outgoing, fast-paced influencer. Like, ask my mother, she will tell you, even without having the label, I was always behaving in a certain way, very different than my sister, who is a reserved, planned facilitator, right? She just behaves differently. There's nothing wrong with either of those things, right? But there are clear differences. And when we don't understand those differences, we don't manage those differences. And instead, we judge people, we take it personal, and we have relational friction. So in thinking of terms of the dads and why we specifically wanted to focus on dads, we'll have other challenges and initiatives. Obviously, it isn't just about fathers and father figures, but based on some of the things that you mentioned, some of the statistics show that there's millions of children who go to bed every night without a father physically present, or they're going to bed and there's a father present, but not mentally present because of whatever might be going on with them, right? So we realized that, okay, we have this initiative. We're going to call it the Dad's Challenge. And we're going to challenge fathers to take a moment and invest in themselves by going through the act of learning what their behavioral superpower is, which is a 15-minute exercise to do that. They get a one-page report, that a profile that kind of explains to them how it goes, but to have a conversation with someone like myself or Jeff Morris, who, you know, are trained to coach and teach what that information means on the profile. I've done this so many times. I see people from the ages of 12 on up, 75 and up, who now have this information and they stand up taller, straighter, their shoulders go back. They realize that the thing that they've always been, that behavior they've always had, they no longer have to apologize for it. They can just realize, this is me. And then when you understand yourself clearly, you can then have a much better appreciation for others. And now you see when they do something different than you, that's okay. Just understand how you can bridge the gap a little bit so you can have harmonious communication. Therefore, you've got a better skill set to be not only a better father, but a better human, which will translate into how you treat your family, right? And how you approach a job, how you approach a career, which ultimately is going to affect how that affects the family. So the Dad's Challenge really is about focusing on fathers in particular, because of some of the things that we just talked about and the situations happening in households right now. Some households is very challenging. So I know in my work that I can bring self-awareness in a way that creates and improves overall performance and productivity in every area of the life. And relationships is what that challenge is really about. So hopefully that's
I was trying to and all of that, and again,
maybe I'm frozen.
The banner I was trying to create, it is 6. Sorry, please don't mind. Here's. Sorry. Can you say that again? I'm not sure. There's an echo that's happening. Oh dear, not sure what's going on with the sound. I'm going to you, Daisy, for a moment. Can you hear me, Kenyatta?
Someone else in the room with us. I can hear you, yeah, but I hear a lot of other things too.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on. All right. What are the 6 fears? I pretty quickly type those down.
Oh, the 6 fears. The fear of poverty, the fear of criticism, the fear of ill health, the fear of the loss of love, like the loss of love of someone, the fear of old age, and the fear of death. And that's what Napoleon Hill says are the 6 ghosts of fear. And he says all other fears are under those 6 in some sort of way. And there's symptoms that come from these fears, and a lot of people experience, most of us experience all of them at some point, and they can be gripping, literally.
Wow, that is so true. I'm being very mindful of the time. We have a couple more minutes. See, if I could please ask you about the Let's Grow project, because oh my God, both of you are superpowers here. So Daisy, please, can you share with the world, what is that?
Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. So the next group, I laugh because one, I didn't even realize this was going to come up, but the Let's Grow project actually I launched it in 2016, just when Hillary Clinton was running to be president of the United States. And I thought, what an empowering time to do this. So I started with, I said, you know what? There are so many women out there who have never experienced coaching. And I said, wouldn't it be great to have a 20-minute and 16 seconds conversation with a woman to just go through the process, the methodology of grow. Just have a conversation. What's your goal? What's the reality? What options or obstacles do you face? And do you have the will to win? Meaning, do you have, now that we have spoken, are you willing to take the next step, regardless of what the next step is all about? So we started that, and I did have, a few women got into the program. But then when the election didn't work out like that, I was so despondent. And then I said, here I am, I'm ready to take on, some, like in my spare time, do my spare project. And then this happened. So I just said, okay, you know what? And I threw myself right back into my business. I mean, I was still doing my business, but that was what I was planning to do for my spare time. But what I ended up doing, though, in addition to that, is every year on the second Saturday in January, which is International Vision Board Day, I meet with some ladies. I plan to meet with between 15 and 20, no more, because I want it to be an intimate affair where we just have conversation. It's not a dress up anything. And we just talk about our goals for the year. So, and that has been going so well. At each year, I end up with a theme. So one year it was just a vision board, and people came and we all did our vision board. The next year was, the theme was Why Not Me? And it was based on Michelle Obama's book, Becoming. So every participant who attended received a copy of Michelle's book. And it was to say, because as women and women of color as well, sometimes their opportunities might be there, but then we just don't want to go out there. We start questioning ourselves. Oh no, I can't do that. Oh no, and imposter syndrome starts to come way heavily on you. And so that year I said, no, let us ask ourselves, rather than say, oh, try somebody else, ask yourselves, why not me? So the theme became, why not me? And this year, it's all about let's grow. And we are growing. And out of this year's meeting, some of us have this, it was to write a book on, it could be our story, what has happened, what's happening now, and how we plan to grow. So at this very point, 21 of us are writing an anthology, and it's going to be amazing because when you have 21 stories of resilient women, it's gonna be powerful. So you'll hear more of that. We just finalized the title of what it's gonna be, and it's an exciting time. So that's what this initiative is all about. Just simple conversations, and we'll see. It has evolved over the years, but then we'll see how it grows. But in 2020, when we started 2020, none of us knew what was going to happen. And now look at what has happened, and how can we grow from what has happened. And that's the important thing. How can we grow from all that's happening? Yeah. So it's an exciting time.
That is amazing. I can't believe how much I was, jumping up and down. I'm just with somebody, multitasking over here when I know it doesn't work. Multitasking is not real, but somehow I managed to pull it off.
It's not real.
I don't agree with multitasking. Daisy, wow. Now, if I'm not mistaken, was Jane Harnadak in the last one?
Jane was in the last. Jane was there.
Was there as well.
Dave was there, Shelley was there, Taranam was there.
Oh, yes, yes.
Yes, and Taranam is a part of, she's one of the 21 authors. She's one of the 21 co-authors in that, in this.
Gosh.
Yes.
Wow. Amazing. So
It's,
I'm just going to now give a couple moments for anyone who is on the chat to show if they are wanting to ask any questions, because we have run out of time right now. And what I'd like to share is that just a few things really stood out for me is that with COVID, we are so many times pushing that square peg in the round hole. And that is what Kenyatta has said. And is that working? Is that really showing? Is that working for us? No, it's not, but we keep on doing. So how can we pivot when we know that that's not working is what I would like to really think about as we move forward, is that yes, we have those fears, and with fears we can look at what are the basis of those fears, and how can we look at that and really step up and start to shine. And where do we shine? We can shine on social media because people say, well, oh no, I need my resume to look at. How many resumes are going to recruiters and HR folks? When I was when I was working for the municipal government in the human resources department, I was seeing upwards of 1,000 resumes. This was back in 2008 to 2010. We had no manpower to. I'd get people really angry. Why aren't you seeing my? Well, sometimes your resume is not speaking to the job. But what can you do? You can utilize social media, LinkedIn, for example. If you're not on LinkedIn, please do be. But Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, whatever your message is, how can you start shining? And both of you are doing that. And those are the things that you can pivot and look for those gaps, is what you had said, Daisy. And what gaps can you fill? Because instead of getting angry at the recruiters, what step can you take to share? How can I help you? And that is that social reciprocity that not only Shelley has been talking about, but also you as well. How can we reflect, pause, because there's so much fear that's happening. And with fear, we are not able to show up and shine during our interviews or when we're creating resumes or when we're creating our LinkedIn profiles. So decide to see who is there, who's available for you. What else have you shared? How can you gain visibility and promotions while working remotely is what you were talking about as well, Daisy. And, you know, everybody here, both of you have shared some incredible nuggets that is going to really help people. So I wanted to thank you both for showing up over here. Do you have a book, Kenyatta, that's coming out?
Not yet.
Okay. You're part of a book.
Not yet.
it's coming.
You're part of the. I've had some personal
It's coming.
that I haven't yet finished. I have a tiny bit remaining and then set it for editing, but you were there as well. Oh my gosh. And Daisy, I cannot wait to read these stories. And I too have a story, and I think I would like it to be multi-generational because Jane talks about multi-generational traumas. Maureen talked about that. And